The writings were on the wall. Watch. His body language
Okay.
is just shaking. Look,
Okay,
watch.
even in front of his friends, even more. Wow.
Hey y'all, it's your captain for all things creative, coming back at you with the Love is Blind Season 5, Episode 10, Wedding Review, along with reunion predictions. Now, there's a whole bunch of this very just disturbing and sad news in the world today. So I just want to encourage people to take all the time you need to just process and pray and connect with your people. And if it helps, to take your mind off things by watching, shows like these, go ahead and do it. Just take care of yourself. And let's continue with the review. All right, so the first couple that we see is Stacy and Izzy. And like you saw in the intro, Izzy was shaking and really coming into this show, I think, making a brave face. But his financial problems and I think fear of not being good enough for Stacy, which he expressed, in the last episodes that were released, shone through for me. And I think in his case, when he was telling his friends, he didn't know his credit score would be that big of a problem, he was lying because he wouldn't have kept it from her so long if that was the case. And he wouldn't have been shaking all episode up to the wedding, if he wasn't worried about her answer, especially after hearing her dad saying that, she wanted to have love that was first class and travel in luxury, So they both put on their bravest face and their best outfits. You see, Izzy, he had some really white teeth. And Stacy, her makeup was so much better this episode. And you see her there with her dad, and she ended up following his advice and just, saying no at the altar. She worded it in the sense of needing more time and saying, that she definitely loved him, but, you know, probably wanting to give him time to get more stable in terms of his like finances, maybe fixing his credit first. And of course, since the experiment is rushed, more time besides the financial issues is better because I think Stacy also all along was never very emotional with him, even in the past when he was pushing her for feelings. She's like, I'm not that type of a girl. And a lot of their conversations were fun, but still kind of superficial. So I think her emotions weren't there. To be really, really honest, I felt like Izzy was always, at least in the beginning, the I guess prize that a lot of the women were like seeking. There were like 3 or 4 women that had Izzy, sorry, as their top choice. So I feel like Johnny and Stacy were in competition for Izzy, and it showed by the way Stacy and Izzy kind of went after Johnny at the kickback when they were like gang up on her and bullying her. That like a lot of their connection was not coming from just a place of love. It was more, oh, can I get the best person? And even Johnny was saying, well, I ended up with the nicest person. And then Stacy herself wanted to, I think, find love. I'm not saying that, she wasn't there for the right reasons, but there were a lot of red flags, and she did a good job at least calling them out when she saw them after the fact. But I do think it was more of like her choosing what was the best option from what she had available and from what all the other girls, were excited about. But I don't know if the feelings were necessarily there. I think they had a good sexual connection because that's the first time you heard her say anything remotely about emotion was, during the honeymoon when I guess it was confirmed that they had the physical or sexual compatibility. But I don't think the emotions were always there. And it showed, through with the wedding. And Izzy was talking about how he definitely didn't feel, like accepted that he was enough and he wants his love reciprocated. So what was happening in the past with her not necessarily saying I love you and things like that carried through in their relationship even after, they had the honeymoon and like the initial just liking to hook up phase. His emotional needs were not satisfied. And he made some comment about being at the gym and watching Titanic and saying like that was his ideal love, which I thought was interesting because I know Titanic is one of the more romantic movies of all time, but it's not very cute to me, especially at the end where, Jack freezes to death while Rose is just lying down on that piece of whatever it was that she was floating on. To me, it seemed like it could have been room for both of them, especially if, um, maybe they rotated or something. But it's the fact that he froze to death seemed romantic to some people. But if that was his idea of love, that kind of self-sacrificial love, I think he was expecting Stacy to sacrifice her wish to not struggle, and her desire for financial stability for him. And that's not a fair ask, especially when you're talking about marriage, you're talking about building a life with someone, you're talking about, you know, doing what's best for you. And like we said before, Stacy's family and Stacy herself always valued, having just a nice life. And if he couldn't provide that, expecting her to sacrifice that would just mean that he just needs a different girl to me. So I'm not surprised that they didn't make it. And the couple that wins, I guess, the whole season is just like the only saving grace, which is a little bit sad, is Lydia and Milton. I thought that their wedding was cute, and I grew to love their relationship over time. As you can see, Milton, they had an actual barber there to line him up just a little bit more in terms of his, final look as a groom. You see, he had a little quiet, bashful smile. He looked like a kid to me, a kid at Christmas, trying to look not excited about, how excited they were. And Lydia looked beautiful and she was very happy and just talking about how, again, she prayed so long, she's been in all these bad relationships. And I like how she was soft when she said she realized that she was choosing people who did not make room for her, didn't have room for her in their heart. But now, she's got someone who actually loves her and cares for her. And I do think that the two will have a good relationship, at least for the honeymoon phase, like Milton's dad said. For the first 2 years, nobody, could predict the future, but they've chosen each other for now. And I think Milton's dad gave Milton really good advice for them to stay the distance. He was saying, fight fear. Also, make sure that you're aware you're like the priest of your house. He said something like that, like you're responsible, for being that rock, I guess, in the relationship, and also account for when people come at you about, like the timing of it all. And that perspective of the dad is really important to me about like, the spiritual side and like being able to cover for and protect your spouse. And I think that's beautiful, especially if Milton's able to do that. Because I married myself, and like when you see relationships, for example, like Will Smith and Jada, where it's like he had this whole public, show of trying to protect her and defend her name in a way. But on the other hand, she is not doing the same for him and, coming out with all these stories about, her loving Tupac and, being with that friend of her son and then saying that they're not even together. They're like separated for like 7 years. All of that to me is not like covering and protecting your spouse. If you don't think marriage means anything, I guess those stories won't bother you. But like for me, I do think you should have a united front with your spouse. You should cover each other. You should be able to, you know, take on the world with your spouse and like the dad said, be prepared to like literally be a priest over it, pray over it, defend it, shepherd it through all the hard times, the ups and the downs. And I feel like Milton's dad was trying to get Milton in that headspace. And I think even though at first he didn't seem like he was that nervous, the more he spoke to his dad and the more, he got closer to the altar and was on the altar, you could see he was taking it seriously. He was sweating again. Now we don't know if it was activator mixed with the sweat or just sweat, but he was definitely, perspiring, showing that he took it seriously. And he even kissed Lydia before the officiant said it was time to kiss the bride because he was just so excited about, getting the love of his life and at least the love of the moment. And I thought it was cute. I'm sorry. I know again Lydia has had the drama with Uche and Louis and all that stuff. And I think even if she came into the experiment with a questionable motive, I think by now she's definitely appreciating Milton, especially after Uche, showed how negatively he thinks of her and tried to embarrass her. Pretty sure she's done with that. And she's very ready to embrace her new phase of her life with Milton. So I'm rooting for them. And let's see, how else does the episode end? Besides them saying I do, you also see a flashback to Izzy and Stacy. And Izzy says that he does believe love is blind. Stacy says that she does believe that love is blind as well. Then we see Taylor flashback to the other people in experiments, and Taylor says she has a little regret about maybe not living with JP and seeing his family, but she knows that she did the right thing. Like see JP admitting that his inability to open up ruins things with women, so he's working on that. And you see Uche in a confessional saying that he's sorry he didn't make it a safe space for Aaliyah to open up. He's gonna work on that. And then you see Aaliyah saying that love is a choice and a lifestyle and other wise things she's learned, even though she's been tested and tried by these people. Um, Next, you see Johnny saying that she knows she's not perfect, but she's not gonna give up. And then you see Chris, who I thought was the best guy in the experiment, saying that he believes love is blind and that love is expected. He's just gonna go follow his heart. And then we end with Milton and Lydia partying and kissing, and of course Milton talking about data points leading him to this decision, and then Lydia saying that this is the perfectly relationship for her. And then he starts roasting her about her sentence structure in English again, playfully, and then um, they kiss and cut cake. And Lydia says she believes love is blind, and they just look happy. I'm sorry, I was rooting for it. Now, predictions for the reunion and the future. It was one thing that we saw from Milton and Lydia's wedding. She was still kind of bossing him around a little bit, kind of like a little bit of a mommy vibe, which I don't like about their relationship sometimes. Like when he was trying to open the champagne, she was like, "Do you know how to do it?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he started doing it, and she grabbed a bottle and was like, "Let me do it." She does it perfectly, and then he's like, "I wasn't scared," but I'm not sure if that was so cute. Maybe he was scared and she saw and she knows him better than us. Because to be honest, I get scared about corks popping and hitting me or hitting something valuable. So it could have been a moment where she knew him better and he was faking like he wanted to open a bottle. But if he really wanted to open a bottle, that's just like another example again of her kind of overstepping and not trusting him to lead, maybe because of his age, because she's always had a problem with his age. She might mommy him a little bit, and that dynamic, I hope, does not play out in their relationship. But you know, we shall see. But in terms of the reunion, I think they'll still be together at the reunion. I think you know Johnny and Stacy hopefully will have seen themselves and apologize to Johnny. I say Izzy and Stacy, sorry. I hope that they apologize to Johnny. I hope that Chris, to be honest, I hope he's not with Johnny because she is a little bit interesting in terms of again the way she approached the pods. It seemed like it was very calculated, like how she had dumped Chris for Izzy. And then when Izzy, didn't choose her, she went back to Chris, and then it didn't seem to like take seriously the feelings that were supposed to be involved. And it seemed like she was more bragging about Chris to everybody else. And it's the fact that she stayed arguing with Stacy and Izzy so long. I would have just left with Chris, to be honest, if like it wasn't about flaunting it and proving myself to people. So I question Johnny's motives a little bit with Chris. It'd be nice if they're still together and happy, but my guess is that they might not be together. And then my other last guess about the reunion is that Uche's not going to show up because he did do that Ask Me Anything tea spill, I guess, on Instagram. And one of the things that was asked is if he was going to be part of the reunion. And he kind of dodged the question or made it seem to me like he wasn't going to come since he said, "When I'm able, I look forward to sharing more through outlets where I can express my unfiltered opinion about all aspects of the experience, such as interviews, podcasts, and most importantly, through my social media." So he didn't say that he's going to a reunion. I don't think he's going to want to take accountability in the way Miriam and all the women stood up to him at the kickback. I don't feel like Uche has the temperament to take being held accountable easily. So I don't think he's going to show up. But if he does, of course, I want to see everybody, you know, take responsibility if there was foul play in terms of Lydia and him and Aaliyah. So let's see. Put your opinions in the comments. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay encouraged. And remember, you're the master of your fate and the captain of your soul. Bye.